What's going on, people? Welcome to 137 Works, and today we are having a look at the Lamborghini Egoista concept, which is a thing that I had no idea even existed. I'm usually kind of relatively up to date with the kind of concept cars and one-off cars that companies like Ferrari and Lamborghini make, but this one just kind of skipped me by. Like, I don't know how I missed this, but it's insanity. Like, it looks like something that came out of like an action figure set. Like, it's just, I know, like, we all know, anybody that's ever seen any of Lamborghini's concepts, like, know that they kind of tend to go a bit balls to the wall. They do the whole fighter jet thing, but this literally, like, I only noticed just recently, just right before I started recording, that it's only a single seater and it's center seated. Like, I don't, again, just visually that skipped past me. But yeah, basically it's from 2013 apparently. It's got about 600 horsepower according to the settings in Content Manager, 560 newton meters of torque. Again, I'll convert them, and it weighs about 1165 kilos or so. And yeah, just lunacy. It's kind of painted seemingly in the kind of the Gulf blue and orange colors, and I just cannot get over it. Like, it's the only thing that I don't like are the headlights. It kind of makes it look like a Badger or something like that. Like, if the headlights were on either side where they normally would be on Lamborghinis, I think it would look a lot better. But it's mad the way that, like, you can still, even with all these wild angles and weird shapes and all that, from certain angles you can definitely see it's like, oh yeah, that's based on like a Murcielago or like maybe the Reventon even. Like, you can see absolutely the Lamborghini kind of style and language throughout it, but just everything about it just completely caught my attention. I was like, I need to try this car. The kind of the orange cockpit, like the weird kind of, as I said, it reminds me like of all Action Man, which was like a series of action figures at the time when I was a kid. It just reminds me of like the cars that would have came in them. They always had orange lights. But yeah, single seater, like a crazy looking cockpit setup, as we'll get in. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like in VR. And yeah, just having a look around. I got it from the Assetto Drive website, the kind of Assetto Drive, I think it's called .wix or whatever that, which the quality from there can usually be pretty iffy. Like, they'll have older tires or out of date, this and the other. But analysing it with Content Manager, absolutely fine, no issues reported, so it should actually be pretty good. Again, sounds borrowed from something else, maybe a different Lamborghini from the base game, some of the physics maybe just copied and pasted, but we'll see. It should just be a good laugh and kind of an interesting experience, like, to have a look at. So that's about it. We're going to have some beauty shots coming up, and then we're going to go in, have a look at it in VR, have a check at the VR test, the sound test of course as always, and yeah, just have a look and see how it goes for a lap around the Nürburgring. Let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in the car, in the cockpit. It's not the best I've ever seen. Like, the carbon texture on that little kind of three-part thing that goes across there isn't ideal. Not the most high quality, but it's also not the worst. It could definitely use some work on the kind of just the realisticness aspect to it. Like, it looks fine, looks passable, but it doesn't look overly amazing. It does look like I'm quite literally in a fighter jet though, so that's pretty amazing. Like, I literally have like a fighter jet targeting system for some reason, as well as obviously the actual dashboard cockpit thing there itself, which is just literally quite literally, I don't know, have any other words for it. It looks like something from a fighter jet. You see it lights up there. Oh, so does the target. It turns green when you turn on the lights. That's hilarious. So yeah, this is actually a good example of why I do these kind of VR reviews. A lot of cars, they might look great from the outside, they might have this, that and the other feature, but you get in, and particularly in the cockpit, they just kind of are lacking a little bit. Like, I don't feel like I'm actually inside a cockpit like I would with something like a Ferrari or the Porsche that I've tested in the past. They just don't have that complete immersion. I don't know if it's just missing like stuff like AO or something like that, where those joints meet there, for example, where the carbon piece goes into the thing, into the actual bodywork. It just looks like it's clipping through, like it's a video game. It's not very just realistic at all. We are in the kind of cockpit canopy style thing, so you can't see the engine from this view at least. But let's go for, definitely it's an interesting place to be. There's also no noticeable pedals, which is strange. Not too sure how I'm supposed to actually get the thing moving, but yeah. So it gets like a, I don't know, I don't usually do score ratings or out of 10 or anything like that, but I would give this like honestly like a 5. Just there's no real immersion to it, honestly. Like, there's nothing, I can see that I'm in a cockpit, like I'm inside the car, but it just doesn't feel like, I don't feel like I can, like I could feel like I could just stick my hands through here, for example, like, which you might be able to, I don't know, the actual concept car might not have actually had windows. No, it did, sure, it has the yellow effect. That's another thing, you can't, like the yellow effect that I can see, So yeah, it does have the yellow tint. I was about to say that it doesn't have the yellow effect, but if I stick my head through the window, totally realistically, you can see that it changes the filter here. One of the incredible advantages of VR being able to actually do that. So yeah, you do have a little bit of the yellow tint, which is cool. So that kind of, I suppose, bumps it up. I'll give it a 6. It's the texture work, lack of AO, just like the wheel itself, it looks kind of very flat, a little too smooth sort of thing. Like, but yeah, that's enough of that. Let's go for the sound test. So it's not too bad. I did notice in Content Manager it does say specifically that it has the sounds from the Sesto Elemento, so I don't know if that was adjusted or changed or if it's literally just copied and pasted from the Sesto Elemento. I'm not going to bother going and checking that because it's not that important realistically, but yeah, it doesn't sound too bad. Nice and kind of raw enough. You can hear the flames at the back, so let's go for the outside view. Yeah, so not a huge difference between all the different tones, I guess. So I'm guessing they are just kind of copied and pasted and put in simply enough, transferred from the Sesto Elemento. The better, higher quality sound mods will sound kind of drastically different. They'll sound kind of muffled in the inside. But again, it's on a car by car basis. Maybe that's what it's like in a real car. Who knows? But that's it for that. Let's actually go and take it out onto the track now for the important bit. So, doesn't have a clutch. Seems to have a fair amount of rotation degrees. There's some of the things that I look for early, like especially with kind of race cars and that. I have no idea what to expect from this. Being a kind of concept car, it's really more about the looks than actual performance, I would imagine. Well, let's see. It feels vague in the middle and anyway, right off the bat. I can get a whole load of wheel turning here before anything actually seems to react on the car. Super fast though. Jesus. To be expected. It's got 600, it says WHP in the Content Manager, so wheel horsepower. So not crazy numbers by today's standards. And what happened there? It's funny, I was just watching this back while I'm editing it, of course, and it was at this point that I should have realised that something was up. So the very first time that I make a pretty hard right corner, it locks up and kind of spins out. So I didn't cop that early on, and I didn't think to look into it or fix it. So yeah, you'll see. You'll see. Right, so you have to be kind of gentle with the brake at least at first. Yeah, brakes locks up fairly easily right off the bat. It's a little more floaty than I would have thought. Yeah, not a whole lot of grip at the back, and then oh god, the oversteer. Where did that come from? So it's not like snap oversteer, like you don't really see it coming, which is weird. I don't know why I expected to have more downforce. It's not like it has a load of wings and all that kind of stuff. Whoa. Taking it gently over float plats. Yeah, and obviously tires and brakes and all that kind of stuff will be cold, so that could be affecting it. But we're up to, not even up to quite 120. Ah, that's interesting, it really doesn't. Oh, whoa. Can we control the slide? Ah, not really. This is a weird feeling car, I have to say. It doesn't, I don't know, I had kind of certain expectations and preconceived notions about how it was going to feel and drive, and it's not really living up to them, strangely. And as a result, you'll obviously see that I'm driving it a bit more gingerly than I would like. Having spun out and lost the back end a couple of times already. I don't have the full confidence to be able to throw it in the corners and kind of accelerate and brake as late as I'd like. It's weird, yeah, the brake. Now obviously again, and this is also on the stock, completely stock setup, so whatever the stock tires are, I'm gonna guess Hypercar Trofeo, if I was to guess. I didn't even check that, like I literally started the recording as soon as the car loaded up, so I didn't even check to see what the settings were. I probably should have. Caught a decent little slide there. Ah, see, I really expected it to turn in more there. I made a disaster of the miss hit miss section. Ooh. What's wrong? It's stuck on something. Again, so at this point, I am just randomly stuck. I'm trying to turn right to come out of the grass, and it won't come out, and I just think I may be stuck on something. Didn't see it coming. Didn't, for some reason, and think... Again, we'll keep going. You'll see. Oh, Lord. My God. Yeah, so I don't... It's just really hard to describe it. It's hard to nail down exactly what it is that's wrong with it. It doesn't like to be broke. Yeah, it doesn't like a heavy braking, and then the back end spins out and comes around when you do. It'll lock up and then the back end will come around strangely. I guess you could say that this is why it makes sense that when they do concept cars, that they are really just for show for the most part. They then refine them and kind of get the actual important bits out of the way then before they make it to production. Get that all sorted out, like the handling and that kind of thing. Because if the reason that this would handle like this, if it does obviously in real life, if it was to handle something similar to this, is I would imagine just because of the design, yeah, it looks great, but it's not actively actually adding any downforce. Like that in a car with a reasonable amount of downforce is pretty much a flat out corner. Like I'm like deep in thought about how this car is feeling, so I'm actually like actively getting sidetracked, which is a weird experience. Like the car's performance is actually sidetracking me from being able to drive it as good as I'd like, which is a weird thing, but around the carousel, not too much complaint there from it. Again, I've oftentimes taken that corner flat out in cars that were a little more easy on the hands. Had to say, for a first impression, I'm not blown away. Super cool looking, a great poster car, but not something that I could ever see myself doing laps and laps in. As we enter towards the YouTube section, the next few turns. Oh, there you go, that's that thing. Locked up, and then the back end comes around for some reason. And it can't be saved. It also doesn't have a clutch, so like trying to quickly sort out your mistakes and get going again is not the most enjoyable thing. Also, just as an aside, it has, I don't like this when the mods do this, it has I've noticed click noises for changing gear, but they're not in sync with my actual clicking noises, so I hear myself clicking to change gear and then I hear it in the game, and it's a little off button, I'm not gonna lie. It's not super far off, like a half a second or something like that, but jeez. Ooh. Right, I cannot say that I enjoy driving this car like at all. I'm looking forward to the next episode of the car that actually is reasonably fun. I feel like it's been a while since I think it was the Ferrari, the Ferrari that I did, the 458 or 488 Pista from BC Simworks. That one was just a dream. The Porsche was great fun, but it was just a nightmare. And then like a couple of the cars since then have just been very good. Again, very interesting and I wouldn't say fun, and this would fall into that category. Good lord. Again, in certain cars I can max out that section just completely flat out. Like, not in this thing though. Second carousel, didn't have a great time coming out of it, but woof, Jesus. Putting the foot down as well can go one or two ways, depending on like the kind of the bumps on the corner. It can either absolutely have no issues, or it can want to just shred your face off. But that's that. As we fly down the straight, I wonder if I can make it to 200. I'm sure it must be a 200 mile an hour car. 180? No, probably not. Not before I have to. Yeah, not before I have to brake. And there you go. Another example. Just I did not stamp on the brake. I cannot stress that enough. I didn't just jump on the brake, and it just locks up and the back end just came around. Like, it's a weird car. Very good looking. Can't say how accurate it is that those physics are to the real car, or how accurate they would be to the real car if it like was existed and produced. But I wonder. Okay, so fun fact, I think I did that entire lap with a bug occurring with my wheel and game. which might have added up to why it felt so strange. So a thing happens for some reason with my wheel occasionally, where for some reason when I turn right, it activates my handbrake. Right, I didn't press the brakes there. But I did a handbrake turn. Doesn't happen when I turn left. Right, so if I just turn left now, I keep going. I turn around. But if I turn right, yeah, okay, so that entire review was basically useless now because I've after been driving with basically my handbrake on when turning right. Like, I'm gonna fix that and go again. That was dumb. I'm sad about that. I would just like to point out I was resetting the time settings after reloading the game, and just I noticed there was an interesting point at which I happened to stop the time, considering that it's done automatically and like you can't specifically choose. Just pointing that out. But yeah, so basically I've reloaded it now, and I should have sorted out that issue. So yeah, as I said, it's a weird bug and glitch that happens every now and again, where only just when I turn right. Yeah, okay, so that seemed to fix it. Weird thing that happens where the for some reason it maps the handbrake, even though I have like that Logitech flight stick thing, it maps it to my right axis on my steering. It's very, very strange. Yeah, so let's go for another lap and see if that has any effect. Oh, got a little close to the fence. On the handling. It was weird that I didn't notice it while I was driving though, because it didn't. Usually I cop it fairly quickly when it happens. Well, right, so this is going to be a little bit biased as well because I do have the experience of the first lap for what it was, but it already feels a lot better, which is bewildering to me. Like, again, I do have a full lap of the Nürburgring Moore's experience than I did. Pay no attention to that off track behind the curtain. Like the brake locking that I mentioned, again, depending on how I cut it and what kind of information I left in, I talked a lot about the brakes locking up fairly easily, and I think that might have just been, I might have subconsciously not noticed that it was only happening while I was turning right. Yeah, so it does. Again, I talked a lot about the kind of the lack of downforce that the car has despite all the crazy angles and all that kind of stuff. And I think it might have all just been skewed by the fact that the handbrake was getting pulled up every time I turned the wheel to the right at all. I might be on the flip side getting a little overconfident, thinking that it's going to be a lot better, drastically improved, when it probably realistically shouldn't. Yeah, so it does still lock up, but it's a lot easier to catch and correct, I'm noticing. So for example, locked up there, the back end did slip out, which was happening a lot in the first attempt, but the ability to catch it is just infinitely better in this scenario. So very, very interesting. So this is miss, hit, miss, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I missed that one. Yeah, catching the slides is infinitely easier. That's wild. Like, I can almost literally drift this car, I think. Like, I'm not going to try it, I'm not going to tempt fate, but I do think this is now possible to like actually control some decent slides, which is not something I would have considered after the first run. Yeah, seriously, I can literally just straight up drift the thing. Like, such a huge difference being able to turn the wheel properly. But yeah, just for poops and giggles, stepping at the back end there, no problem, no questions asked. The difference in confidence that I have, night and day. I feel so dumb. That was such an amateur mistake. Ooh. Let's not mess up the YouTube section this time. Go for the customary at this point, kind of attempt at a slide maybe. Damn it, I thought I had it. I didn't want to brag and say that I'd nailed it before I made it all the way out, but yeah. I was like, yeah, holding this nicely, this will look cool in the replay. No, couldn't hold it. Even this section here, been able to fly through here a lot faster, a lot more confident, knowing that the car will actually turn in Such a night and day difference. Ooh. So yeah, it's kind of funny how wrong I can be. Like, now I was only reporting on what I was feeling, but obviously what I was feeling wasn't correct at all. Like the fact that I talked about maybe having a lack of downforce, the fact that it was a concept car and all that kind of stuff. It just goes to show, like, in one way I was stunningly wrong about the car, obviously, as I make a mess up at the last corner. And in one way I was actually, it's interesting to know that you can tell the clear differences. Like, this is clearly a differently feeling car than it was when I had the issues in the first try around. I still don't think it's a 200 miles an hour car, but however. And as you can see there, same thing, slamming on the brakes, it didn't spin out the way it did in the first one. So yeah, a little bit less detail I'm aware as to kind of how it drove and stuff like that for that lap. Yeah, I was mostly just kind of shocked at how different it was to the first one. Overall, I have to say, massive improvement. Actually quite fun to drive. I really didn't like how it drove in the first test. Obviously now knowing why, kind of makes sense. But yeah, second time around, just to say, because obviously I didn't really touch on it, felt a lot better, a lot more planted. The ability, it had that kind of controlled slide ability that I always talk about in cars that I like. The ability to take it easy and kind of maintain the grip, but if you want, just to be able to step it out and kind of get that little tail action going. Not always easy, as we've seen coming out of the YouTube section, to kind of fully maintain and catch the then counter spin once you come out of it. But overall, yeah, really good. Again, the interior, not the best I've ever seen in a mod, but definitely certainly unique. Center position and the kind of race, the kind of like fighter jet style thing in the middle there. Crazy. Do I recommend it? I haven't fixed it, actually, honestly. Yeah, again, it's not the highest quality details around, but it's certainly unique. It looks unbelievably unique at least. And yeah, definitely after, just make sure you don't have your handbrake enabled when you turn right. But that's about it. If you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.